You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Coming up, we'll have the tale of a heroic rescue that happened on Thursday.
And we'll take a closer look at Pokemon's newest pair of games coming just in time for the holidays.
And we've got heat advisories once again today as another hot day is ahead of us. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. A Grove, Oklahoma woman is charged with aggravated trafficking of fentanyl. In May, investigators received a tip that Julie Wise was dealing large amounts of fentanyl pills from her home. After stopping a vehicle leaving Wise's home for making an illegal U-turn, police found her in possession of 200 pills. The 30-year-old admitted that since March, she has purchased about 1,000 pills, selling for $30 each. Wise is also charged with possession of a firearm after a felony conviction and unlawful use of a telecommunications facility. Authorities in Oklahoma identify a body found along I-44 near the Miami exit last week. Authorities say the body is that of 53-year-old Richard Ashley of Chelsea, Oklahoma. An autopsy determined Ashley died from being hit by a vehicle. Investigators say the driver did not stop or report the incident. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol and Quapaw Nation Marshal Service are trying to identify what vehicle was involved. A heroic rescue in Joplin on Thursday. Firefighters assisted the city's animal control to rescue a dog that had fallen off the top of the cliffs at Wildcat Glades, commonly known as Mother Nature's Crack. Officials say the dog appeared to have been there for 3 or 4 days and was injured and dehydrated. Crews climbed down and brought a boat near the cliff to rescue the pup, who is now recovering. Well, on Wednesday, we told you about a partnership between the SEK Humane Society and Paw Prints on the Heartland, ending after 22 years. Now, it ended because they couldn't agree to terms on a new lease. At the time, the Humane Society declined to comment, but now they have released a statement. The statement says in part, quote, "It became apparent that the property being occupied by Paw Prints was not being adequately insured or maintained. In order for the Humane Society to legally protect the organization as a whole, it was advised to require a standard written commercial lease agreement by Paw Prints," end quote. The disagreement resulted in Paw Prints being evicted. You can find the Humane Society's full statement on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. City of Joplin is considering its next steps after the failure of Proposition Public Safety this week. That proposal was to fund new wage scales for the police and fire departments through a property tax hike. City Manager Nick Edwards says listening to and understanding what voters want is the next step.
There was a lot of different concerns and different ideas that were posted and discussed as part of the lead up to that election, and so fully understanding that feedback and working on a plan to continue to improve our public safety services is what we'll do next.
Edwards says the city will have to make plans that voters would ultimately approve. A Joplin-based breastfeeding group is holding an event to celebrate National Breastfeeding Week. Chi Chi Mamas is an online Facebook group with more than 3,000 members. They're holding a breastfeeding celebration this Saturday at 10:30 at the Joplin Senior Center.
To bring everybody together and to show them, that we definitely do support breastfeeding. Here in Missouri, about 80% of all moms start breastfeeding, and we just like to keep that up.
The group will also meet quarterly at the Joplin Health Department starting in November. Missouri Southern's Webster Hall is getting a colorful student hangout. A space that was formerly used for storage is now becoming a new spot for students to relax between classes. The Department of Art and Design Administration and participants in MSSU's Leadership Academy are creating a floor-to-ceiling mural on 2 walls adjacent to the main staircase.
I try to make sure that projects are structured in a way that people who don't have any artistic training or don't do a lot of painting have meaningful work to do on the project. I have a strict no fake work.
A local furniture store is donating all the furniture for Webster Hall's new student corner. We'll break out a celebratory bowl of Cincinnati chili. The city's zoo has a new baby hippo. Officials at the Cincinnati Zoo say BB, a 23-year-old hippo, gave birth to a calf late Wednesday night. The yet-to-be-named baby hippo is healthy and is already walking. Mother and calf will spend the next 2 weeks developing a bond away from the public eye. However, zoo officials say they will post photos and videos when possible. The calf has an older half-sister, Fiona, who became a celebrity after the story of her premature birth went viral in 2017. Fiona even has her own web show and several kids' books about her story.
Hippos are really cool.
I misunderstood. Yesterday I heard about a baby hippo at the Cincinnati Zoo, and I thought it was Fiona that gave birth to a baby, but it'll be Fiona's sibling.
Yeah.
Ah.
It's still very cool though. And
very
I mean,
cool.
baby hippos are pretty big babies too, so I'm not really surprised that it's already walking.
Yeah.
And like I said, just look, hippos are really cool looking.
Yeah.
They're just chilling in the zoo.
Just don't challenge one.
No. Every time we have stories about wild animals, it always ends up being ones that you do not want to fight. It's never any wild animals that are okay, you know, like lemurs or something like that. It's hippos and lions and tigers and bears, and those are ones you do not want to get in a battle with.
I wonder what would happen if we put you in a room with a bunch of lemurs.
They'd probably attack me because they'd realize they outnumber me.
Possibly.
That's my luck, though. See, that's the thing. You could put me in a room with gentle animals, and they would still come after me anyway.
You have that touch.
I do. I think it's the cologne. Something about what,
Maybe.
either that or how I dress.
Well,
Could be
there's
either way.
also something else special about this date.
Yes, on this day in weather history, back in the year I was born, I was just a few months old when this went down. 1987, severe thunderstorms raked eastern South Dakota, where a dozen tornadoes were reported, along with softball-sized hail at Bodle and wind gusts pushing 90 miles an hour in Watertown. No severe weather like that in our immediate future. In fact, Skywatch Storm Tracker, none of this is actual rain. So it's pretty dry out there right now. Heat advisories in effect. They are in effect through 8 o'clock tonight, and they'll resume again tomorrow. The sun, there it is. It's peaking above the tree line at 7th and range line. And it's starting to warm up slowly but surely. It's 74 as we start the day. Most of us are starting the day in the lower to mid 70s across the area, with, say, Chanute and Parsons being, Chanute and Fredonia. I can read. I got this. Chanute and Fredonia being warm spots, as well as Independence. And, you know, Parsons, you're 75. You're starting the day a bit warmer than some of the others as well. So that's good enough. The other problem we have, though, is this. Our dew points are starting the day at around the same as our temperatures, which puts us in that muggy and soupy range. So as you head outside, it is a bit on the muggy side. And that dew point is what's going to contribute to the reason we have these heat advisories kicking in, because we got heat index values pushing 105 today. Afternoon highs pushing the mid to upper 90s. It's one of those days, again, a second cup of coffee probably would have been a good idea. Then we do have a chance of some isolated storms later the day into the early evening hours. Overnight, temperatures dropping back into the 70s. It'll be clear, though, with a southeast breeze at 5 to 10. And for your weekend, additional pop-up storms are possible on Saturday. Heat advisories remain in effect through Saturday. Temperatures Saturday and Sunday both pushing close to 100 degrees. So I would not be surprised if come Saturday evening, we see heat advisories start to go out for Sunday as well.
All right. Well, coming up next, we'll show you how one company is taking treatment for mental illness to a virtual level.
And later, Joker gets a sequel, and it's rumored that Lady Gaga is in the sequel. You're watching KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
In Healthwatch this morning, since the start of the COVID pandemic, there's been an increased focus on mental health, especially among children. And now a new company is looking to marry the fields of technology and healthcare, hoping to help the most vulnerable Americans. Eben Brown has more.
What tech does is it helps democratize access to care.
Since the start of the COVID pandemic, there's been an increased focus on mental health, especially among young people. 1 out of every 6 children ages 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder, and now a new investment company wants to use technology to make them easier to treat. Telocity is a fund set up 3 years ago to specifically invest in companies that provide tech-based solutions to improve mental well-being among young people, a demographic used to doing pretty much everything on their phones or computers.
Use that as a place for resources, whether it's educational types of capabilities, self-learning around mental health, being able to provide teletherapy solutions, etc.
And it's not just scheduling apps and telemedicine. New advancements in virtual reality could make it much easier for doctors to examine and treat patients.
There's a lot coming in with AR, VR. There's a lot of technology around assessment.
It's also good news for businesses. Telocity released a report last month showing youth mental health will be a $26 billion market by 2027. The company says that's an unprecedented opportunity for businesses to beef up their bottom lines while also providing help to millions of Americans.
There's an opportunity to do good while investing and building sustainable businesses. And I think that's the driver for tech.
Telocity says right now 96% of all digital mental health services are mobile applications. In Miami, Evan Brown, Fox News.
Well, some student athletes are getting ready to practice for fall sports. That means you may want to make sure they watch for signs of heat illness. Doctors at the Cleveland Clinic say sports events can bring heat overexertion, heat stroke, and cramping. That means an athlete is running low on electrolytes. Coaches should allow for plenty of water and breaks. Signs of problems can be headache, irritability, vomiting, dizziness, or fainting. Now, kids should not resume practicing if any problems occur. It's also recommended that parents make sure their child is properly hydrated before going to bed and before going to practice. A warning from a health expert as parents begin to send their children back to school. Overloaded backpacks can cause serious back pain. Mandy Gaither has some backpack safety tips.
Books, pencil cases, and book bags filled to the brim can be a pain, literally.
Kids need to have things to be able to do their schoolwork, but I think finding ways for them to be able to transport it back and forth where it has the least effect on their body will be the most beneficial.
The American Academy of Pediatrics says a child's backpack should weigh no more than 15% of their body weight. For a 75-pound student, that means the bag should not weigh more than about 11 pounds. Dr. Blaise Nemeth, a pediatrician, says pay attention to your child's posture.
If you see your child really leaning forward to try to be able to carry that weight, then the backpack's probably too heavy.
To lighten the load, only pack items needed that day. Keep the rest at home or in a locker. You may also consider having your child carry 2 bags.
By carrying 2 different backpacks, one on the back and one on the front, to kind of counterbalance.
Make sure the backpack is right for your child's size. It should have a padded back and wide straps to distribute the pressure across the body. Both straps should be worn. You may also want to have a waist strap. Put heavier things like textbooks closer to your child's body.
A lot of kids will have back pain while they're wearing their backpack, but typically it should go away after they take it off.
If the pain doesn't go away, see a doctor.
Well, Nemeth says book bags with wheels are a good option and may be a bit easier on a child's body. However, it may be harder for a child to get around school, especially in a busy hallway or if there are stairs. Well, an unusual emergency in Middleton, Wisconsin, where officers responded to a call about a young raccoon who had got his head stuck in a mayonnaise jar. Yes, this did happen. With some patience, teamwork, and creativity, the officers were able to free this little rascal. They warned him to obey a curfew and perhaps consider better dining options. No word on Mama Raccoon's reaction to the mayonnaise mishap.
I think what happened is this raccoon had been watching a little too much Winnie the Pooh. And, I mean, raccoons, they're trash pandas.
Yes.
And so
I wanted you to say that. Yes.
He saw his dinner in a jar and said, I've seen that bear do it, so I can do it. Unfortunately, he hasn't seen the episodes where Winnie the Pooh sticks his head too far in the jar and gets stuck. because
Yep.
that's what happened.
That's
Now
what
he's
he
learned a
learned.
lesson, hopefully.
You had to get that mayonnaise at the very bottom. Oh, I bet he had a tummy ache, though.
I couldn't imagine just eating straight mayonnaise, but I am also not a raccoon, so.
Hopefully it was like empty mayonnaise. Well, it might have been one that was like thrown in the trash can because it was emptied out.
And he was just
And the
going
lid
after
wasn't
what
on
was
it,
left.
so he wanted the remains of it.
Yeah.
I'm
I
guessing.
would imagine
I'm
that's
guessing, 'cause
probably
most
the
people
case.
don't throw away, like, unless, yeah. That's probably the
Yeah,
case.
unless your mayonnaise expired, you don't just throw away a full jar of mayonnaise, generally. Generally. Well, if you've got weekend plans that don't include rummaging through the trash for dinner, it's going to be pretty pleasant. We got heat advisories, though, that go into effect today, and they're in effect tomorrow as well. Isolated thunderstorms on Saturday, clear on Sunday. Both days, highs approaching near 100 degrees, and a quick look at the future track shows us where we might see some of those isolated storms later today. And then as we head into tomorrow morning, we'll see a few more isolated storms popping up across the area, but they'll clear out by early afternoon. And as they do, it's just going to get downright hot. And look at what happens to those heat index values too. This is why the heat advisories are out there pushing close to 105. We've got more of the KOAM morning news on Fox 14 when we come back. A new generation of Pokemon are waiting for gamers to catch them all this holiday season. Rick Damagella reports.
Attention, please. Nintendo has revealed more about the upcoming 9th generation of Pokemon. Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet are set in the Paldea region, which looks a lot like the northern Mediterranean. Scarlet and Violet will feature open-world exploration and a trio of grass, fire, and water types to start the game. But unlike previous Pokemon adventures, it looks like players will get the highly sought-after legendary Pokemon early on in the story. New gameplay features exclusive to the Paldea region feature Pokemon that shine like gemstones and special battles involving these types of Pokemon. The colorful duo of Pokemon games are scheduled to release November 18th for the Nintendo Switch. Catching them all in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damagella.
Well, we're going to be catching them all with the forecast when it comes to our temperatures, at least, because it's going to be hot. It's not so hot right now, though. If you're awake this morning, I'm awake. I'm really awake right now, and I don't know why. 74 degrees in Joplin as we start the day. All of us sitting in the lower to mid-70s as we start this fine Friday morning. The problem we have is these dew points. Look at all of them. They're all in the 70s, and that's not good. It's going to make it really miserable later. It's a little sticky now, but it's going to be yucky later, that muggy to soupy range on those dew points. We have heat advisories to go into effect this afternoon, and because of that, it's because we got heat index values pushing 105. We've got temperatures reaching the mid to upper 90s. As we get into the evening, we may see an isolated storm or two across the area. Otherwise, it's just going to be plain old hot. Now tonight, storm chances kind of clear out. It's going to be pretty nice, a mild night, lows in the 70s with a southeast breeze at 510. You got weekend plans? Well, we got heat advisories again tomorrow because heat index values tomorrow, yet again, pushing 105, temperatures pushing close to 100, but we also have isolated storm chances on Saturday, a little clearer on Sunday. On the future track, you can see those isolated storm chances. So as we go through the day today, a few of them by early evening, and then by about 10 or 11 o'clock, we start to lose any chances of storms. Then we head into tomorrow morning. We get a few more of these isolated to widely scattered storms. They clear out by mid-afternoon, and once they do, as you can see behind them, temperatures get downright yucky, and look at what it does to these heat index values tomorrow. Like I said, pushing upwards of 105. Quick check of the 7-day forecast. It's going to be hot, isolated storm chances, and we have scattered storm chances by next week. Brings temperatures down a couple of degrees, and once these storm chances clear out, temperatures soaring back to 100 by the middle of next week. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero, Joplin, Missouri native Sergeant Matthew Okerson. This decorated veteran served in Kuwait as part of the 72nd Signal Battalion, the 7th Signal Brigade, and earned a Bronze Star. To Sergeant Matthew Okerson, we thank you, today's four-state hero. A release date for the Joker sequel Pop star Debbie Gibson goes home, and a filmmaker puts the good, bad, and ugly of his family life on the big screen.
Dina Demetrius has those stories and more in your Eye on Entertainment report.
Stand-up comedian Joe Coy plays a fictionalized version of himself in the film Easter Sunday. It's about a man who returns home to celebrate Easter with his loud and loving Filipino family.
Joseph, are you coming for Easter?
I don't know, Mom. I'm really busy. I just tested for this pilot.
You're going to be a pilot?
A network pilot for like a TV show.
Ah, you're playing a pilot on the TV show.
No, a lawyer.
You could have been a lawyer if you only applied yourself.
Coy says families everywhere can relate to his story.
In no way do I want to be like, okay, only Filipinos. Because that's not what I'm trying to show here. I'm trying to show the world that it's like, this is a movie about a family that you know about. You know these people. You work with these people.
Easter Sunday arrives in theaters today. Joaquin Phoenix returns for the sequel to the 2019 Oscar-winning psychological thriller Joker. Warner Brothers isn't releasing any details about the storyline, but Variety reports it will be a musical with Lady Gaga expected to play Joker's co-conspirator. Joker Folie à Deux is set for release in October 2024.
There is my house.
Right here?
Yes!
And pop icon Debbie Gibson returns to her childhood home on Long Island on tonight's Secret Celebrity renovation.
This was my room!
Gibson is also overseeing a renovation for her longtime friend and manager. Catch Secret Celebrity renovation tonight on CBS. That's your Eye on Entertainment. Dina Demetrius, CBS News, Los Angeles.
As a preteen, Debbie Gibson was one of my favorites.
See, I really liked her song, Only in My Dreams.
Electric Youth. I've told you guys this before, but I made a trampoline routine to that song.
Excellent music from Debbie Gibson, to say the least.
Yeah.
So, and this show looks interesting. I mean, I could go back to my childhood home here in Joplin.
I wore a lot of vests that were inspired by Debbie Gibson.
Okay.
I'm dating myself, I know.
Do you mean you're actually dating yourself, or do you mean in terms of saying how old you are?
Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, our own Shannon Becker steps back into our studio to talk about the top big 3 stories of the week.
Indeed he does, and we'll meet a 17-year-old trying to reach new heights. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:31. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Authorities in Oklahoma identified a body found along I-44 near the Miami exit last week. Authorities say the body is that of 53-year-old Richard Ashley of Chelsea, Oklahoma. An autopsy determined Ashley died from being hit by a vehicle. Investigators say the driver did not stop or report the incident. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol and Quapaw Nation Marshal Service are trying to identify what vehicle was involved. A Grove, Oklahoma woman is charged with aggravated trafficking of fentanyl. In May, investigators received a tip that Julie Wise was dealing large amounts of fentanyl pills from her home. After stopping a vehicle leaving Wise's home for making an illegal U-turn, police found her in possession of 200 pills. The 30-year-old admitted that since March, she has purchased about 1,000 pills selling for $30 each. Wise is also charged with possession of a firearm after a felony conviction and unlawful use of a telecommunications facility. A Joplin woman is trying to spread a message about common misconceptions concerning human trafficking. Angie Brower from Rafa International in Joplin recently addressed the UN delegates on the subject remotely. She says many young victims get brainwashed and don't see themselves as victims.
These are my friends, and maybe even their trafficker, pretended to be their boyfriend. That happens a lot. And they get these young women to fall in love with them. And if you would just do this for me, then this many times, then you and I can go make a life together. You won't have to do this forever. And that is how they get drawn in.
The National Hotline seeks to help victims of human trafficking and provide information on the issue. You can get a link to that number, KOAMnewsnow.com. The city of Joplin is considering its next steps after the failure of Proposition Public Safety this week. That proposal was to fund new wage scales for the police and fire departments through a property tax hike. City Manager Nick Edwards says listening to and understanding what voters want is the next step.
There was a lot of different concerns and different ideas that were posted and discussed as part of the lead up to that election, and so fully understanding that feedback and working on a plan to continue to improve our public safety services is what we'll do next.
Edwards says the city will have to make plans that voters would ultimately approve. Joplin School District officials are putting the word out about a change at the state level, making it easier to become certified as a substitute teacher. And now in Missouri, it takes only 36 college credit hours to become certified, where it previously took 60. There's also a 20-hour online training course that you can take. Joplin officials hope the change will encourage more people to apply ahead of the coming school year. Yesterday marked the first Thursday of August, which means it's time for another art walk in downtown Joplin. One of the businesses taking part, Club 609. And they presented work by artist couple Jim and Diana Bray through a show called Vanishing Landscape. Jim uses acrylics and Diana uses 3D abstracts.
Those areas that I grew up around, kind of stayed with me. And I've been always interested in the old wooden houses, barns, and all of the things that were left by the people who migrated into that area.
There are 2 art walks left, meaning October is the last month to attend this year. Marian Days is back. The annual festival has drawn tens of thousands of Vietnamese Catholics to Carthage every year through 2019. But it's been canceled the last couple of years due to COVID. It started back in 1978, celebrating the Virgin Mary every year on the first Thursday in August. Despite the 2-year hiatus, the spirit of Marian Days is still alive.
Because of the 2 year in between, so now when they come, they do have that spirit of a different one. I mean, I think it's a different one. I don't know how to express exactly the term for it, but I can see that they do have. Yeah.
Celebration runs through the weekend and the public is welcome. Well, this morning we're discussing Breonna Taylor. On Thursday, outside a Louisville courthouse, Breonna Taylor's family and their attorney marked a, quote, huge step towards justice following the botched raid that killed the 26-year-old black woman in 2020. 4 current and former Louisville police officers have been charged with civil rights violations and other federal counts in connection with the raid. Former Detective Joshua James, Sergeant Kyle Meany, and Detective Kelly Goodlett were charged with submitting a false affidavit to search Taylor's home before the raid. Ex-detective Brett Hankinson, who fired 10 shots into Taylor's home during the raid, was charged with several federal counts, including depriving Taylor and others of their constitutional rights. On Thursday, Taylor's mom, Tamika Palmer, said she's waited 874 days for federal charges to be filed. This brings us to our Something to Talk About. We're asking, do you think the officers in the Breonna Taylor case should have been charged? Simple yes or no answer. And there are our current results on the screen.
54% of you saying yes, 46% of you saying no. As Tommy mentioned earlier, that gap was a lot wider earlier this morning. You can vote, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. Do so in the KOAM News Now app. And of course, take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. Something we're going to be discussing for the next several days too is going to be the heat. As you can see, heat advisories today until 8 o'clock, and they'll show back up again tomorrow as well. Sun's up and it's nice outside so far, 74 in Joplin right now. Most of us are starting the day in the lower to mid-70s. We've been kind of hovering around these temperatures all morning. The problem we have is our dew points, and our dew points are sitting close to the temperature, and it's making it feel pretty muggy to soupy out there. And as the day warms up, the heat index values are going to go up, hence the heat advisories. We go through the day, 96 by 5 o'clock, mid to upper 90s for highs with those heat advisories because heat index values pushing close to 105. And we have some isolated storm chances later this evening. Now, they'll clear out overnight. Clear skies, overnight lows into the 70s, and a nice southeast breeze at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. You got some weekend plans. Another round of isolated storms on Saturday. Heat advisories continue tomorrow as well. And then 99 on Sunday under clear skies, and I wouldn't be surprised if the heat advisories get extended. On the future track, you can see some of those isolated storms as we head later into the evening around the area. Mainly it looks like on the southwest Missouri side, and then by tomorrow morning, early morning, we'll see a few more scattered storms across the area, and they will clear out by about early afternoon. And once they do, the temperatures really heat up. And again, heat index values tomorrow pushing close to 105. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 when we come back.
Welcome back. We've got Shannon Becker in studio this morning with the big 3 stories of the week.
Yeah, what's live, local, what's happening?
Yeah.
So right now, number 3 this week, Joplin News First. We might know this guy, Doug Heddy, you think? Well, the 88-strong Christian Heddy Foundation has their first big event. We talked about this last weekend. It's a big story. Now they're having a 5K walk and run, kickball and cornhole tournaments. So it's kind of a collage of different events coming up. But you can register now for that September 17th event in Webb City at the King Jack Park. So
and there's lots of things that you can participate
oh,
in.
yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
And they're going to have some music and some other stuff, but you can go to our website, KOAM News Now, and all the details are right there. Oh, that's an amazing, amazing legacy that we're helping to continue. Our number 2 story, Joplin News First, it was on I-49 Monday night. Harley Davidson, driven by a Joplin man, was rear-ended by a vehicle. Now, as authorities arrived, they thought it was just a one-vehicle crash, but there were paint markings on the Harley Davidson like someone had rear-ended it. They still don't know what vehicle did. If you have any information, you can contact the Missouri State Highway Patrol or Newton County Sheriff's Office. The driver is expected to survive. However, he suffered critical injuries. Our number 1 story, it's the tragic end to a story that we've been following for the last 3 weeks.
Yes.
In Carytown, Missouri, just north of Carthage, south of Jasper, a body was discovered in a long abandoned farmhouse. It was in a vehicle around behind the farmhouse. It's the body of the missing Michelle Stone from Alba, Missouri. It's, like I said, it's a sad end to this story. Her dog Liberty, though, which was also missing, was found okay. She's very thirsty, they said, so she's hopefully making a recovery.
She'd been missing since mid-July.
Yeah, July 15th, I believe. And then our bonus story, you've been talking about it, is your tummy rumbling for some pho?
Oh,
or what? Or that's
yes.
what's that? Bobo tea? Bobo tea,
Just
yeah.
anything.
Oh, I do not like the
Vietnamese
bobo
food,
tea,
yes.
but this was last night. We were at Marion Days, and it's our bonus story of the week. It's open to the public, and you can try out Vietnamese food. Or here's what's really neat: the Knights of Columbus in Carthage, they do a fundraising restaurant every year, and so you can get corn dogs, hamburgers, French fries. You get well, I would say, take the kids and get normal food, you know, because I don't know about you, but the kids, oh, I don't want to eat that. Well,
call it normal. It'd be American food.
There
compared
you
to the
go.
Vietnamese food.
There you go. Yeah, see, I'm a Southwest Missouri guy. Give me that fried Oreo, okay?
Mom and Dad can eat the good Vietnamese food, and you get the kids the corn dogs. There you go.
It's our bonus story, and that is going on right now in Carthage. They'll be there through Sunday at Marion Days.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us this morning for your big 3.
Yes, no
All
problem.
Right. I'm sure you're off and about to go catch the next latest breaking news.
Yes, and find us on the web, KOAM News Now.
All right. We'll be right back.
In Consumer Watch this morning, mortgage buyer Freddie Mac says average long-term mortgage rates fell below 5% for the first time in 4 months this week. 30-year rate is now 4.99%, though a year ago it was below 3%. That was before the Federal Reserve began aggressively hiking interest rates in efforts to tamp down high inflation. Cracker Barrel's new meatless sausage patty is generating online debate between meat lovers and supporters of plant-based options. Chain announced this week it's adding a plant-based sausage patty called the Impossible Sausage to the restaurant chain's breakfast menu. Its Facebook page lit up with thousands of comments for and against the new item. Cracker Barrel tells CBS Money Watch it wants to add choices to, quote, satisfy every taste bud. And a New York camp counselor who found a signed baseball card from a very young Mark Zuckerberg is putting it up for auction next month. The card features the Meta and Facebook founder as an 8 or 9-year-old holding a baseball bat. Ali Tarantino, who dug up the card in his basement, says Zuckerberg handed it out at the end of the camp season some 3 decades ago. The card will also be auctioned off as an NFT digital collector's item. But we'll be right back with more after this. But first, why don't we go ahead and take a look at those those market prices before the opening bell.
Well, 17-year-old pilot is reaching for new heights.
And Mark Rutherford is on a journey to become the youngest person to pilot an ultralight plane around the world solo.
Jeremy Kashatuk was there when he touched down in Alaska.
So I started on the 23rd of March in Bulgaria because my main sponsor, ICSoft, is based there. From there I flew through Sicily and Crete, then all the way down through Africa. In South Korea I did quite a lot of works on the plane to add more fuel tanks so that I could then fly from Japan to the US in Attu Island. And so I did that. That was my longest flight over the Pacific Ocean. It was about 10 hours. I stayed the night in Attu Island, which is uninhabited. And then the next day I flew on to Shemia and Adak, and then Dutch Harbour.
Welcome, my friend.
Thank you very much.
I'm John.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and I think Mac coming up here and showing teenagers what can be done, flying solo around the world as the youngest person to ever do that, hopefully will inspire a lot more of our youth to chase their dreams and make them happen.
So I'm trying to show that young people can make a difference. You don't have to be 18 to do something special. Just work towards your dreams and they'll come true. You don't have to wait for them. If you keep waiting, eventually it'll just be too late. Just work towards them and you'll be able to make your dreams come true.
Keep on flying, kid. Rutherford became the youngest pilot in the world when he was just 15 years old.
Now he's following in the footsteps of his older sister, who became the youngest woman to fly around the world when she was 19.
He's going to beat that record. So.
Well, but he's not going to beat being a woman.
No.
So, but he can beat his own. He can set his own record on the other side of things.
Yes.
Speaking of records, no record highs, thankfully, but it is still going to be hot. Heat advisories go into effect later today for all the counties in orange, which is pretty much all of us. They'll run through 8 o'clock tonight because we got heat index values really creeping up today. Right now, though, it's 7th and Range Line. It looks pretty nice out there, and it still feels pretty nice. 74 in Joplin as we start the day. Most of us starting our day now still in the lower to mid-70s across the area. The problem we have is these dew points, and they are also in the lower to mid-70s, which puts us in that muggy to soupy range, which is not good because later today it's going to contribute to making it feel absolutely miserable outside. So let's talk about later today. Heat advisories kick in this afternoon. Afternoon highs, the mid to upper 90s, and then this evening we do have chances for isolated thunderstorms. They are possible. Heat index values pushing, by the way, about 105 degrees. Overnight tonight, any storm chances pretty much clear out, and then we've got clear skies, lows in the 70s, a nice mild evening with a southeast breeze at 5 to 10. If you got plans for the weekend, Saturday, we got some decent storm chances, or at least some scattered storm chances, I should say. Heat advisories again tomorrow, because heat index values again tomorrow pushing close to 105. 99 on Sunday, and I wouldn't be surprised if those heat advisories get extended into Sunday. And like I said, we've got decent scattered storm chances on Saturday. Quick look at the future track. If I can hit the right buttons on this little remote I have, see some of those isolated storms later tonight. They clear out, and then as we head into tomorrow morning and into the first half of the day, you see a few more scattered storms, but they'll clear out by early afternoon and then leave us with just hot conditions. And a quick reminder of those heat index values pushing upwards of 105. We got more of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. The monkeypox outbreak is now a public health emergency in the U.S. That means the government will free up more money and other resources to increase testing, treatments, and vaccine production. The virus has infected more than 7,000 Americans. New York State health officials are urging parents to get their children vaccinated against polio. On Thursday, they said the polio virus, which is almost completely eradicated in the U.S., has been detected in at least 7 different wastewater samples in 2 adjacent counties north of New York City. So far, only 1 person has tested positive for the disease. And South Korea is headed to the moon. The Asian nation's first lunar explorer hitched a ride aboard the SpaceX rocket Thursday night from Cape Canaveral. The South Koreans say they are hoping to send a spacecraft to the moon by 2030.
We got heat advisories kicking in today. It's going to be another hot one. Temperatures pushing in the mid to upper 90s with an isolated storm or two possible later today. Clearing out tonight, lows dropping into the 70s with a light southeast breeze. If you got weekend plans, we got more scattered storms tomorrow. Also more heat advisories tomorrow as temperatures soar close to 100. Heat index values pushing 105 yet again. And Sunday, the same deal, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more heat advisories issued tomorrow for Sunday.
Well, don't be selfish today. Instead, focus on shellfish and buy a friend some oysters to celebrate National Oyster Day.
All right. My wife likes those.
Well, you can go out to a restaurant or make them yourself. Another fun way to celebrate, enter an oyster shucking contest.
I'm not so sure about that, but these contests do exist. And some fun facts, there are more than 100 species of oysters. More oysters are produced in the Chesapeake Bay than in any other body of water in the world. And globally, nearly 2 billion pounds of oysters are eaten annually, and only 1 out of 10,000 oysters produce a pearl. But hey, you might get lucky this year. And if you do, post social media using the hashtag National Oyster Day.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better weekend.